Hi, welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Thursday, March the 9th. And like every Thursday afternoon, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Today, we're going to be giving out 3 college basketball futures on teams to win the national championship and the odds you will receive if you follow our advice. But without further ado, Doug, how are you?
I'm doing well, Ross. Last night, as a matter of fact, I went to see the Kansas City Royals and the Chicago White Sox. And anybody's familiar with the White Sox, Dylan Cease is their ace, one of the best pitchers in the American League last year. And last night, Ross, he had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. It was walk, hit, walk, grand slam, home run.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
They pulled him. Okay, after he gave up another hit, and because in preseason baseball, you can put the guy back in after he's been pulled. He came in the next inning, gave up 3 more runs, got pulled again.
Wow. I
So
guess he wasn't sharp.
He was no, and he wasn't even dull. He was so bad.
Yeah, and not exactly against a offensive juggernaut in Kansas City. So that's a little bit of concern, but it is still spring training, and we've seen this act before.
Right.
Where guys have a 7 or 8 ERA in the spring, and then they go into the regular season. All of a sudden, it's like, where was this guy all spring? So we'll see, but that's certainly alarming.
Funny to see.
Yeah, it was certainly alarming if you're a White Sox fan, no doubt about it. All right, so we're going to take a look. We're each going to give 3 teams out that we like right now and their odds to win the NCAA championship. Talking off air, we do agree on 2 teams each, and then we have a different third team. So let's start with the teams we agree with, and I'm going to start with you, Doug.
Okay, well, as I told you just before we started, the team that was actually my number 1 choice got yanked. right out in front of me. I liked UCLA, okay, and I liked them actually, by a pretty good margin. But it just was announced today that their forward Jaylen Clark, who I believe is either second or third leading scorer, and for sure their top defender, he's done. Achilles, he's out for the season, and it happens almost every year. It seems, not necessarily the main one, but one of among the teams that's favored. They have some injury that comes up to one of their key players. He can't play, and it just changes everything for that team. So in UCLA's case, that is the key. So, or that is the situation. Too bad for them, but like I say, it happens every year. So, but my first choice, my next choice then would be Alabama. Okay, I have to admit, I honestly believe, Ross, I can't remember a year that being more difficult, okay, than being at this point to me where there's definitely teams that I think we would all agree on that we like, but in terms of specifics, a little tougher. Okay. I like Alabama. Okay. My second choice. I like what they have more so than how they played lately. They have not played great lately. I think their guards are good, not great. Sears and Quinterly, they're very good facilitators. Brandon Miller is an NBA player. We know that. Okay. He can score inside, outside. And then they also have guys that protect the rim. One of the things that's important to me is defense, and their field goal percentage defense is 38% or just below 38%, which is third in basketball. So that from that standpoint, I think this team can win 6 games and get the job done.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of my choices as well. The Crimson Tide come 26-5 to end the regular season. Some pretty good non-conference wins at the beginning of their slate against Michigan State, North Carolina, and Houston. Although the first 2 in Michigan State and North Carolina were disappointments this year, but Houston certainly wasn't. And they went to Houston and beat them at Houston. Now, I agree, Doug. I mean, what Alabama team's going to show up? Are they going to be able to put together 6 consistent games? You don't want to see the Alabama team that went to Oklahoma and got blown out by the Sooners, which to this day, still that's a head scratcher. But it seems like every year those kind of results happen for a powerhouse team, and you can't ignore them. But by the same token, look, you got to give a mulligan or 2 to these real good teams, and I think I'm willing to do so with Alabama as well. Number 20 in adjusted offense, number 3 in adjusted defense, according to KenPom. Very tough team to play against. They played at extremely high tempo. As a matter of fact, second fastest tempo in all of college basketball, according to KenPom. And their 3-point defense, number 2 in the country, 2-point defense, number 1 in the country. When you could defend like that and play a high tempo offensive game as well, it's very difficult, especially teams from outside the SEC when they face a team like that, because there's not a lot of Alabamas playing college basketball right now. So I agree, Doug. We're both on Alabama. According to Odds Shark, they have Alabama at plus 1,200, which is really good odds with all considered. All right, your second choice, Doug.
Well, tell you what, why don't you go ahead and I'll follow you this time.
All right, so I'm going to be on the Houston Cougars, plus 700. Low odds, especially. I really don't like taking teams at this low odds to win it all, but still pretty good price when you consider this is a 29-2 team. 1 or 2 losses came to Alabama, like we just alluded to, and also they were upset by Temple in the mid part of the year, but they dominated in their conference. They've shown that they can go outside the conference and beat teams of high caliber, and a pretty good track record from Kelvin Sampson since he's been at Houston, and deep runs into the NCAA tournament. You can't help but think that this team is primed, and they're used to the high pressure situations the NCAA tournament brings to the table. So that's my second choice, Doug.
And I completely concur. My reasons are a little bit different, and we'll talk about, let's just say, some basic philosophical differences is how you and I approach this. But again, one of my main things is defense and how well you play it. And so for me, I look at field goal percentage, and they're number 2 in the country. Okay, I think it's 37.5, if I'm not mistaken, on that one. They're not a tall team, so that is a little bit of a concern. Their best big player is Jarace Walker. He's only 6'8". He's a freshman, but they put so much pressure on the perimeter that it makes it a little less important unless they get in foul trouble. Okay, and that happened to them. I forget if it was last year or the year before. I forget who they played exactly, but they got in foul trouble and really was the determining factor in the game. But their backcourt, Marcus Sasser, Jamil Sheed, good players. Sasser probably has some more NBA ability than she does. And in terms of how they play, really good playmakers, both of them. Good instincts on offense and defense, and just electric quickness. Okay, so in terms of a package, tough to beat. Okay, from that standpoint, it's just a matter, are they able to get the offensive rebound to get their cheap points? That's what they need, because sometimes that offense will disappear.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because they're number 4 in the country in offensive rebounding, which is amazing, because you pointed out their lack of size, 6'8" and less, 6'8" or shorter in the starting lineup, but they're relentless on the offensive glass. They've been so for the last few seasons, all under Kelvin Sampson. Seems to be a trademark of Houston basketball, is extending possessions, wearing down the other team as a result, and then playing staunch defense, as you alluded to as well. So, yeah, so we agree. Houston plus 700, Alabama plus 1,200. Here's where we don't disagree, but we have different teams and different choices for our third team. Go ahead, Doug.
Yes, well, one of the things I wanted to deliver, because I want to bring one long shot to the table here on this one. And is it a long shot? It certainly is. It's the Duke Blue Devils. Okay, but what do I like about them? I don't know what your numbers have. Last I saw, Ross, was 50-1 for Duke to win it. But here's the thing: is that this team had, they struggled a lot during the course of the season, but all of a sudden, this really young team kind of came together late. And so they're playing their best basketball. I would not be surprised at all if they won the ACC tournament. So I think that's a big factor for them. In terms of guard play, Jeremy Roach, he's their glue guy. Okay, he sets the whole offense up. He's a good defender, borderline, above average, I would say, and in terms of defense. Kyle Filipowski has really come on. Okay, 7 feet tall. Kids can score inside, outside, and we're starting to see a little more athletic ability from him. Not that he didn't have it, but he just looks more comfortable in terms of his play. And another thing I'm big on is rim protection. Well, between Filipowski, who's a good off-ball defender, and then you add in 7'1" Derek Lively. Okay, I mean he's a shot changer. Okay, anybody goes in the paint, he's right there to take care of it. They're not as good as the two teams we've just talked about, or we both talked about defensively. They give up 41%, but 41% and field goal percentage allowed is still very good. Again, I'm talking a small wager here. Okay, just if you got some extra fun money, but it's an interesting team. Okay, and like I said, if they happen to win the ACC tournament, that's a pretty good momentum going into it. Depends who you get, but I kind of like the direction of this team just overall, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, if they win the ACC tournament, they're going to improve their seeding too, which is a lot of people will say, well, big deal if they win the ACC tournament. Well, it is a big deal because now you go from a 6 or 7 seed to possibly as high as a 4. I don't see them going any higher than that because their resume doesn't dictate, and it's a down year for the ACC. So, but yeah, I mean, they're starting to come on. I agree, Doug. New coaching staff, Coach K leaving, and they're starting to gel at the right time. It looks like. I think they've won 6 of their last 7, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. I mean, definitely worth a shot in the dark there at 50-1, no doubt about it. It's a program with a huge winning tradition. They've been there, they've done that. But we'll see. It's still a long shot, but it's worth the money to take a small shot, like Doug said.
And another thing I'm sorry, just one other thing. Another point from a betting standpoint to talk about is that you can also bet on teams to reach the Final Four. Yeah. So that's something else to consider. You can see how their bracket lays out and stuff like that. And again, likely they would, if they play how they've been playing, they would really only need to win one game that many would probably expect they wouldn't. Okay, from that standpoint. So that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, and also the ability to hedge when you have a 50-1 long shot. If they get to the Final Four, I mean, you'd be absolutely foolish not to hedge against them as a way to assure yourself of a good payday. You might even be able to start doing that in the Elite Eight, depending on the numbers and what the situation is at that particular moment in time. I mean, if they're playing in the Elite Eight and they're a small favorite or even a small underdog, I mean, you might be in a position to think about doing it even at that juncture. But that's the good part about making a choice when it's a long shot, is you don't necessarily have to win the tournament. I mean, that's what you'd like to see to make good money. But you could hedge as well. So there you go. So Alabama, Houston, and Duke for Doug Upstone. My third team, I know it's sort of boring and people are going to say, well, tell me something I don't know. But my third team is Kansas. I mean, still at odds of plus 1,100, sign me up for Kansas right now, because to me, this is a team that's gelling also at the right time. They did lose their regular season finale, I believe, at Iowa State. However, they were on like a 5 or 6 game winning streak going into that regular season finale. Obviously, championship experience from last year. Number 25 in adjusted offense, number 9 in adjusted defense, according to KenPom, which is really, really good. It's a nice combination. And also, they've played the toughest schedule in the country, according to KenPom, 25-6 on the year, non-conference wins over Missouri, who's going to be in the tournament, NC State, who's going to be in the tournament, Duke, who one of Doug's 3 picks, and Indiana, who's a solid team as well and will be part of the NCAA tournament. So this is a battle-tested team. They don't have the experience they had from a year ago, but make no mistake, perennially they bring in top 10 recruiting classes, and this year was no different. And didn't start out great, but certainly finishing on a high note. So at odds of 11-1, I'm going to take the Kansas Jayhawks. So Kansas, Alabama, and Houston for me. Alabama, Houston, and Duke for Doug. Easy for you to say, Doug. In any event, Doug, tell the folks how you've been doing of late, what you might have coming up.
Yes, well, I cooled off a little bit since Monday, okay, but still having a real good, 14 2 weeks it's actually been. Won 10 of the last 14 days, 18-8 in college basketball. So that's been a nice run. That's almost 70%. 65% in the NBA in my last 20. So that has been very good. And hockey just continues to roll along. It's been going very well. So I'm very pleased with that. And with all this college basketball, you like me, Ross, are going to have some big plays. I got a
Yeah.
big play later tonight. As a matter of fact, it's on a late game, so that's available at my page. And so there's going to be a lot of opportunity Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in particular. Okay, with some outstanding opportunities to make some money. Okay. Make the right selections, and Ross and I will both have a ton of picks. Okay, coming up for this period. So make sure to check it out. But also don't forget, Ross has been on a great run in the NBA and in some different areas, and so he'll bring some of those things to the table too. Just don't ignore it, because again, there's still some stuff, and you only have to be selective. In most cases, you just need like one game. With the schedule, you don't have to go through the whole card. I know I'm narrowing mine down. I'm sure you're doing the same thing, Ross.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, my NBA 10-star top plays are 26-14 with my last 40, good for 65%. My college basketball 10-star top plays are 106-80 with my last 186, good for 57%. Dime betters up over $18,000 with those picks over that course of time. And my college basketball totals went 2 and 3 last night on my totals. Disappointing night in that regard, but still plugging along at 40-22 with my last 62 college basketball totals. That's also good for 65%. So a lot of good things happening. You could find me at rbwins.com. That's rbwins.com. You can find Doug at docsports.com. Also, Doug does daily videos for Doc Sports. Besides doing this with us, he does his own solo thing. Real good, short, concise, to-the-point videos, free picks every day, and he does quite well with those. So you can check that out at the Doc Sports YouTube channel as well. So in any event, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Folks, don't forget, subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's absolutely free to do so. World-class handicappers on this channel, myself, Doug, Sean Higgs, Jesse Schul, Joey D'Amico, just to name a few. We'll be bringing on other guests as the months progress here. And again, give us a like. Just, it's a small token of your appreciation. It makes us happy. In any event, again, for Doug and Ross, we'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.